Hi, welcome to the first section of the course, Directory Services. In this section, we will see just two things, one of them being configuring Samba as an Active Directory compatible directory service, and the other one is joining a Linux box to the domain. So let's begin with the first video, configuring Samba as an Active Directory compatible directory service. In this video, we will see some important steps. First, we will configure your system with a static IP address, then install Samba and SMB client, and finally remove stock smb.config. As of Samba 4.0, Samba has the ability to act as a primary domain controller, PDC, in a manner that is compatible with Active Directory. Now let's see how to do it. Installing on Ubuntu 14.04, configure your system with a static IP address and update etc host to point that IP address rather than localhost. Make sure your time is kept up to date by installing an NTP client, using the command sudo apt get install ntp. Preemptively disable SMBD NMBD from running automatically. Install Samba and SMB client, using command sudo apt get install Samba SMB client. Remove stock smb.config. Provision the domain. Save the randomly generated admin password. Link the adkrb5.config to etc. Edit etc bind name.config.local to allow Samba to publish data. Edit etc bind name.config.options to use the Cabarrus key tab within the options stanza. Modify your zone record to allow updates from Samba. Modify etc aparmore.d user.sbn.named to allow bind9 access to a few additional resources within the user. SBN name stanza. Reload the aparmore configuration using sudo service aparmore restart. Restart bind9 using command sudo service bind9 restart. Restart the Samba service using the command sudo service samba add dc restart. Let's see how it works. The process for provisioning Samba to act as an Active Directory compatible domain is deceptively easy given all that is happening on the back end. Let us look at some of the expectations and see how we are going to meet them, as well as what is happening behind the scenes. Active Directory requirements. Successfully running an Active Directory forest has a number of requirements that need to be in place. Synchronized time. AD uses Kerberos for authentication, which can be very sensitive to time skews. In our case, we are going to use NTPD, but other options including OpenNTPD or Chrony are also available. The ability to manage DNS records. AD automatically generates a number of DNS records, including SRV records that tell the clients of the domain how to locate the domain controller itself. A static IP address. Due to the number of pieces of the AD functionality being very dependent on the specific ID address of your domain controller, it is recommended that you use a static IP address. A static DHCP lease may work as long as you are certain the IP address will not change. A rogue DHCP server on the network, for example, may cause difficulties. Using Samba Tool. Samba Tool can work in an automated fashion with command lines option, or it can operate in the interactive mode. We are going to specify the options that we want to use on the command line. The realm and domain options here specify the name of your domain. Since we're going to be supporting Linux systems, we are going to want the add schema to support RFC 2307 settings, which allow definitions for UID, GID, shell, home directory, and other settings which Unix systems will require. The pair of options specified on our command line is used for restricting what interfaces Samba will bind to. While not strictly required, it is a good practice to keep your Samba services bound to the internal interfaces. Finally, Samba wants to be able to manage your DNS in order to add systems to the zone automatically. This is handled by a variety of available DNS backends. These include Samba Internal. This is a built-in method where a Samba process acts as a DNS service. This is a good quick option for small networks. Bind9 DLZ. This option allows you to tie your local named Bind9 instance in with your Samba server. Bind flat file. This option is largely deprecated in favor of Bind9 DLZ, but it is still an option if you are running an older version of Bind. It causes the Samba services to write out zone files periodically, which bind may use. Bind configuration. Now that Samba is set up to support bind9_DLZ, we need to configure name to leverage it. There are a few pieces to this support. DLZ setting. This tells bind to load the dynamic module, which Samba provides, in order to have it read the Samba's data files. Zone updating. In order to be able to update the zone files, you need to switch from allow update definition to update policy, which allows more complex definitions, including Kerberos-based updates. AppArmor rules change. Ubuntu uses a Linux security module called AppArmor, which allows you to define the allowed actions of a particular executable. AppArmor contains rules restricting the access rights of the named process, but these exiting rules do not account for integration with Samba. We need to adjust the existing rules to allow name to access some additional required resources. Great! In this video, we saw configuring Samba as an Active Directory compatible directory service. In the next video, we will look at joining a Linux box to the domain.